All right, do you have kids getting engaged, or maybe you have kids who will one day get engaged? Today we're going to be talking about family culture and integrating a new person into your family culture and just ideas in general around family culture. Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. I'm Emily Orton.
And I am Eric Orton.
Here we talk about personal growth, family connections, and parenting adult kids.
Before we get started, I want to ask you a favor. If you enjoy what you hear, if it's helpful, or you just kind of like the vibe and you're intrigued, we would appreciate it if you would rate the podcast, write a review, or even better, share it with somebody you think it would help. We have no plans to run ads on this podcast, and so the only thing that we ask of you is if you'll just share the love, whatever format, rating, reviewing, or sharing with somebody that you care about, because we'd love to reach out to as many parents as we can and help us as we all go through this crazy, exciting, and sometimes a little complicated chapter of raising adult kids, being a parent of adults. So today we're going to talk about
family culture, and you had quite a few good thoughts on family culture. Would you mind starting out?
Yeah, for sure. So Emily and I have discussed this a lot over the years because I dare say that we have a fairly strong family culture. And so our kids have kind of said, well, when we get to that point of life when somebody else is going to come into our family, that's going to be a real shift. And how do we prepare them for the craziness of coming into the Orton family?
I want to say one thing here. Thanks. I know when I was growing up, my mom had seen couples who had struggled to come together because the family culture was so strong. And so she thought, let's do an approach where we don't try to put too many traditions or too much family culture in place, and that's one way to go about it. Then we've just been coming up with our own, which is great to also make your own new traditions. But I think you can have a strong family culture and still prepare your kids to combine with a partner going forward.
So just to be clear, what I mean, and maybe what we mean when we say family culture, it doesn't mean your nationality. It doesn't necessarily mean what language you speak. It doesn't mean your religious background or your education. It can mean all of those things, but I would say that you could have two people who grow up side by side, neighbors on the same street with all the same friends, going to the same schools, just everything you can imagine in common, and you can still have two entirely different family cultures, despite all the things that come in common. And all those other things that I just mentioned can also factor in, but no matter how similar we are, if we're from two different families, we have two different cultures, period. And so we were joking, as our girls were getting into the dating ages and they're starting to think about boys, and thought, we have a lot going on in our family, and maybe we should write a book or a manual on how to, things sort of like minimum requirements to like a survival guide to the Orton family. Like, you need to have watched these movies, you need to have read these books. There are going to be inside jokes about them that you will not get if you don't read them. You should listen to these recording artists. You should be aware, you should know these painters. I could go on, but anything else that I'm...
Yeah, what painters do we need to know?
Everyone should know Monet because everybody loved Monet.
Okay, so maybe there's actually some comedians you should know
Yeah,
about.
okay, lots of comedians.
Just, like kind of an insider's guide to the Ortons, and our kids all thought this was awesome. In case you're joining us you're early on in your journey with us, we'll just let you know that we have 5 kids, and 4 of them are girls. 3 of them have already launched and moved out of the house, and we still have a teenage boy and a teenage girl at home right now. So
that is correct.
That's where we're coming from. I like what Michael Pollan said about culture. He said, culture is whatever your mom taught you.
Yeah.
So that's why it's going to be so different, right?
Yeah, culture
From
can
person
be
to person.
how you stack the dish, or how you stack your dishes.
Can we talk about loading the dishwasher?
Loading the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Strong family culture. How you mow a yard. I have very, very strong and correct opinions on that.
And we didn't even have a yard for over 20 years, so it's funny what things might matter. And you don't know what your kids are going to choose to take from your family culture into their family culture, or vice versa. But you can still have a strong family. So I think it would be fun if we talked about some of the things we're doing as, like, we're moving from being the family to becoming extended family.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we're trying to keep in mind is that this season, as our kids are choosing their partners, is going to be looming large for the rest of their life. They could be 75 years old and someone says, tell me how you two met. And they're going to come back to this time period that's happening right now. And so many things before it and after it are going to get, washed away in the current of memory. But this is going to stand out. It's going to be of legendary proportion or mythic proportion, right? Like this time is just a little more special and a little more memorable than other times. And so being mindful of that, we want to be circumspect. We want to make sure we're being positive in all the things that we're saying and doing, and that our part in the story is that we're being supportive. And so for years, I've been asking other families with more kids than me, or kids who have been, are older than our kids, like, how have you brought these new son-in-laws and daughters-in-law into your family? Like, do you have rituals? Do you have traditions? Do you have a guidebook? Like, what are you doing? How are you making that transition? How are you making it as smooth as possible? I felt like for me, it was a little bit bumpy, and wanted to figure out how can we make it easier for kids coming into our family. And we didn't come up with any established ritual or tradition that we necessarily wanted to do. But the first thing is just being mindful that this time is really important. And so when our daughter got engaged recently, we said we'd love to take you out to dinner and celebrate. And then at that dinner, we didn't just have a great meal, which was fun, but we asked to have a specific conversation. We said to each of them in front of each other, here are all the skills that we see in you that we think will help you to have a great marriage. And we said it about our daughter. We said it about her fiance.
And can I say skills and attributes?
Yeah,
behaviors,
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Character traits.
Yeah, just.
I didn't mean to just say skills. Thank you.
I am a skilled metal worker. You have to check our survival guide to get that joke.
Yeah, right. And then asked them if they would mind telling us what they each love about each other. And so we got to start out saying we are really familiar with what you love about each other and why you think it's a great idea to get married. And we also got to contribute to that encouragement and that love and that feeling of goodwill by saying, here's what we see in you that makes us so excited for your future.
Yeah, and I think just realizing that I watched the movie last night, Aquaman. Not sure if I can recommend it or not, but it's an origin story, right? And we all love origin story movies. We love to know where people come from. And so I think what you're saying, Emily, about how these scenes take on, in some ways, mythic proportions. Mm-hmm. And so handling them carefully, not carefully is not the right word, but just being thoughtfully, being mindful, thoughtful about the impact that they have. And so, shall I share an example?
Go for it.
Okay, so this amazing young man who wants to marry our daughter was over at our house over Christmas. And in the process of wanting to give us a Christmas gift, he needed to transfer a file. And we're mostly a Mac family, and he's a PC guy, and we're going to work that out. But he needed to borrow a hard drive, and so I gave him my hard drive, and he had to do a quick clicking of a couple of buttons to get it so that it would show up on his computer so he could transfer this file. When I got it back,
a few minutes later,
I loaded it up, and it's just the hard drive that I use all the time for everything. And I loaded it up, and everything was gone except for the file that he wanted to give us as a gift. And I did not know what to do, because when I say it was all gone, this was 2 years worth of audio, media, video work. It included an audiobook that I'd recorded. It included some personal videos of us, like a monologue, like a 1-hour conversation that we recorded.
If you haven't heard Eric's book, Knock, The Spiritual Journey of a Door-to-Door Salesman, you should go check it out. All those files got deleted, but they are up
our
for you to
website
purchase.
/knock. Not intending to plug that, but it was on there, and all those files were gone. And we had recorded a video while we were celebrating our 25th anniversary, and kind of a message that we wanted to give to our kids when they got engaged. Gone.
Gone.
And so I'm just like, it was one of these moments where I truly didn't know what to do or say. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to just go upstairs for a minute. And I took my laptop and the hard drive, and I went upstairs, and I was like, oh my goodness.
We consulted,
and we had this conversation where we said, this is going to be a defining moment in our family story with our daughter and her fiance. We can't screw this up.
Yeah, we don't want.
I mean, you always can screw it up, but then you just have to deal with the consequences. We don't want to. We don't want this to go sideways.
Yeah.
And so we thought about it, and we counseled together, and
we said the worst case scenario is
it's all lost.
That it's all lost and we can never get it back. But the good news is we're creators and we'll create more. But this relationship that's happening is more important than our last 2 years worth of media projects. And so we're going to just recalibrate to be okay with the worst case scenario version of it, and we'll operate from there.
Yeah, and they said, we can't, we're not going to try and troubleshoot this on Christmas Day. We're not going to try and call tech support because nobody's going to be there. This is a problem that's just going to have to wait for later. So we're going to table it.
We'll figure out what can go right later. Right now we can't know the answer.
And so came back downstairs, kind of composed with some sense of equilibrium, and I just said, hey, this is what, it's going to be okay. Whatever it is, it's going to be okay. Gave him a big hug. He was crying. We were all we ended up doing a big group hug. And in the end, this moment was really beautiful, and I think connected us in a way that none of us had expected. And we didn't get the hard drive stuff. We didn't even get to address it till a while later. And the solution is, the outcome is not important. The outcome, the important thing, in my opinion, here is that being mindful, like you said, Emily, being mindful of how we choose to act, what we choose to say and do in these origin story moments have a huge impact in the trajectory of these relationships between us and our daughter, us and our future son-in-law, them with each other, all the ways.
With the siblings with each other, because the whole family was kind of present and having opinions. It's so hard not to have an opinion when you're a witness, right, of these situations. And I gave him a hug as well, and I just said, you guys are going to be together for a long time. There's going to be a lot of years, right? If you're going to be in this family for the next 75 years of your life, or however long till, we just assume everyone's living to 100, we are going to disappoint each other again in the future. I guarantee that will happen. And we just want to establish a habit of loving each other through it, assuming the best intent, and assuming that we can work it out.
I don't know if this is a plot spoiler, but I'll just say we were able to get back over 95% of all the data. So
yeah, yay.
Whether it worked out that way or not, I think
we just don't want to leave you hanging on that point.
Yeah, everyone, we want you to sleep well at night. So I'll just say that. But I think for us, the takeaway was just saying the relationship is the important thing here, and making sure that we were handling it mindful of the fact that these are origin story moments. I guess that's what I would say there. And I actually want to go back real quick to the idea of family culture.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were talking about each person brings their own family culture to the marriage, to the new relationship. And I think it's also important for me as a dad and a future father-in-law to remember that when our daughters and when our kids get married, they and their spouse are going to create their own family culture. They may load the dishwasher in a totally different way than is right. And they may mow the lawn in a way that's different from, all those different things. And so I think for me, just remembering that there's probably going to be some movies that I'm going to have to go see to get their family culture, books that I'm going to have to read to understand where they're coming from, artists, music artists and
would say, how do you like this done? You know, I'm in
Yeah.
this is your home, this is your family, this is your territory. I'm a visitor in your culture now. I'm a guest here, so I want to
Yeah.
play by yours.
So I need to remember that. And that's one of my takeaways, is that not only do we come from different cultures, but we'll be entering into new cultures as well as our kids form their own homes and families. So that's all I got.
It's very exciting. It's nuanced. It can feel complex, and we just need to take a breath and think about what could go right, and keep in mind the kind of feeling that you want to have between you, the kind of communication that you'll be most, proud of going forward, and just let's have some fun on this journey. If you have questions or other topics you would love for us to discuss, we have an inexhaustible list of topics to talk about, but we love to talk about things that are coming up for you and presenting for you as you have kids who are moving into adulthood, crossing that threshold, have already crossed that, getting married, starting to have grandchildren, and the different issues that are coming up there.
I'll say this: if these are our ideas about how to kind of cross this bridge into married kid land.
Oh, just on a very basic level.
But
Yeah.
we would love to hear from you, because some of you are further along this path than we are. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, just go in the comments, leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts or your questions or your suggestions.
Let us know what's working.
Yeah. Also, or you can DM us on Instagram or Facebook. And also, you can just shoot us an email, hello@theawesomefactory.nyc. We'd love to hear from you, and we know that we have just as much to learn from you guys as from us.
As much as we want to give, we have lots to receive as well.
This is a dialogue, so we look forward to hearing from you and hearing what could go right.
All right, if you enjoyed this, if you had some takeaways that were helpful or some good reminders, please subscribe, rate, review, share with a friend you think this would be useful, share with your spouse. Say, let's talk more about this. How do we want to go about it? We would love to just keep these good ideas flowing and circulating throughout the world, so we can have stronger families, feel more confident in our parenting, and keep growing.